He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is the Alex Marlow Show.
Hi, this is the Alex Marlow Show. I'm really excited to be speaking with all of you today. It'll be probably a slightly shorter show today. I have just been wall-to-wall covering Iran news. I also am on location giving a speech today to the wonderful Young America's Foundation. Spent a lot of the morning doing live reporting on Charlie Kirk's show. So I'm popping up a lot of places. But for you guys, I want to spend pretty much the whole show, I think, talking about Iran and where I see things in places where I want to urge caution, but mostly a lot of optimism. I feel like what we're witnessing from President Trump is just grandmaster level chess playing. I think that his maneuvers have been pretty much perfect to this point. Those of you who are tuning in, all of you know that Saturday night on, I guess, probably early Sunday morning, Iran time, but Saturday night here in the United States, that Trump targeted and attacked 3 strategic nuclear sites, including the Fordow facility, or Fordow. I always say it wrong, but you know what? You guys know what I mean. And then he declared that it was complete and total, what was the word he used? Annihilation. He said they were destroyed, basically. And, you know, we weren't supplied direct evidence of this per se, but I don't really have a lot of reason to doubt him. Needless to say, the establishment media quickly started to doubt him for it and say that it wasn't true. But he put out a truth bomb, just that went out just right before I turned the mic on here, that says the sites we hit in Iran were totally destroyed and everyone knows it. Only the fake news would say anything different, in order to try and demean as much as possible. And even they say they're pretty well destroyed. Working especially hard on this falsehood is Allison Cooper of Fake News CNN, dumb Brian L. Roberts, chairman of Comcast, Johnny Carl of ABC Fake News, and always the losers of, again, Comcast, NBC Fake News. It never ends with the sleazebags in the media, and that's why their ratings are at an all-time low, zero credibility. You love to see it, because I love when he's attacking my competition. At Breitbart, we're in an amazing spot here, because I think that and I want to be a voice for this, is I think that we are the place to bridge the gap between the America First movement and total isolationism. We don't want any ground invasions. We don't want any forever wars. We don't want the defense contractors to get enriched anymore. We think that the quickest way to peace, though, sometimes is unpredictable targeted bombings, targeted attacks, what Trump has been known for, when he became known for in his first presidency. For example, the attack on Soleimani, a one-and-done hit. There were people, again, I mentioned this last week, but there were people weeping that night thinking we were now going to war. We weren't. And of course, the taking out of Baghdadi with the beautiful dogs who went through the walls and not through the door. Very important that Trump did this and showed that we can have a strategic attack. That was even a ground attack. It was brief, but there were boots on the ground for a couple hours, I guess. And that was effective, and then that was it. That was the end of it. Not to mention his approach to Russia, where we were told that he was under Russia's control. But in actuality, he cut off the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. He targeted Wagner troops in Syria and killed hundreds of them. He proactively armed Ukraine when Russia was threatening them. He is not a pawn of anyone. He's the alpha in this situation, and he is the one who is in command and in charge. And a lot of people online on X, the Everything app, who are, valid members of our coalition, and people who might be new to the movement, and people that I respect and I want to stay with our movement, they think that Trump is being manipulated by Israel here, and they're not. It is not the case. And I'll tell you, I know this. We track Israel very closely. We have lots of people there. And they were deeply concerned that Trump doesn't like Netanyahu and was going to throw Israel under the bus and tell Israel to go it alone, which Israel's intelligence has proven deeply capable and has a great ability to do a lot with their resources that they have. Deep infiltration into the Iranian government, into their military. Their intelligence capabilities are unbelievable. They have the best missile defense, period. All of that stuff is true, but everyone wants to be America's friend right now. Donald Trump is so powerful, we are so powerful, and everyone wants to be our friend. And Israel was deeply concerned that we might not be their friends right now. So why is this our fight? That's another thing that I keep getting. And there's a couple of things. There are two that are very important. I think one thing that's really important is that the funding of these terror proxies. I think this is something that we blow through this pretty quick, but our Navy has been targeted by the Houthis who are funded by Iran. This is a big deal. This is recent, and this has happened, and it's a big thing. The region is largely destabilized because of the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel. This is where a lot of Americans were caught up in this, were killed, captured, etc., funded by Hamas, which is funded by Iran. So Iran has been trying to wipe America off the map for the last 50 years. This will continue. Their nuclear enrichment is not designed to produce energy. It is designed to attack Israel and to attack America, to a lesser degree to have leverage in the region. And I think that is true. But you get leverage. If you have nukes, you have leverage. But overall, they're not good guys, and no one's going to miss them when they're gone. And so why move now? I think they're moving on Iran now, partially because they will not play nice with Trump. They are the worst negotiators with Trump in the world. Trump has said no more funding the proxies, no more nuclear enrichment. And as I think, I don't know who pointed this out before we did at Breitbart, but Trump is keeping a word that he's had since 2011. That if you keep trying to enrich, we're not going to tolerate it. He tweeted in 2011, 5 years before he became a politician, not tolerable for Iran to have nuclear weapons. And he did not say America is going to engage in regime change. He did not say we want a ground invasion. He did not say we want a forever war. All he said was Iran cannot enrich. And Iran is enriching, and their stockpiles are out of control. And that's why the IAEA, which is the UN's arm on nuclear capabilities, came out, and we reported on this on June 10th, so 2 weeks ago, as you're hearing this at Breitbart News, that it was out of control, and even the UN was now skeptical of what Iran was doing. The UN pacifies and mollifies nations like Iran because the UN hates Israel just as much as Iran does. So when the UN saying this is out of control, then you know there's some bad stuff happening in the region. And I will tell you right now, there's a lot of discussion of whether or not the Fordo attack whether or not it actually destroyed the nuclear material that's there. That could be the latest developing thing, because if we're in some sort of a chase for nuclear materials, that could end up meaning maybe we do end up getting the ground troops in there. I know Bannon's warning about this. That would be bad news. We don't want that to happen. And so we don't want to, hopefully most of the nuclear material has been destroyed, and if not, then we should not go in and go get it, but there will be a temptation to do so. But Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, who is someone who we speak highly of and like quite a bit at Breitbart and trust quite a bit, has said that U.S. intelligence has found that Iran did not move nuclear material from Fordo ahead of the attack. So that's a good thing. So again, it wouldn't have been like plutonium, something that you could use to make a dirty bomb. It would have been something at that level, but it would have been material that they potentially could have used to try to accelerate the program if they had any secret facilities. But Trump took out 3 strategic facilities, and if those are offline, unless there's something that both Israeli and U.S. intelligence either doesn't know about or has not made public to folks like you and me, then that would be a big risk that they try to accelerate now and feel emboldened to do something drastic. But we're not really seeing evidence of that. In fact, what we're seeing right now from Iran is really deep weakness. And I'll give you a couple of examples that we're seeing right now. First of all, the Strait of Hormuz is open right now as we're having this conversation. And this has been something I've been thinking about all morning before I got in to record the show. I was thinking, if Iran feels like they've got allies, they've got support, then they're going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, going to shut down international shipping. The anti-Trump media is going to blame Trump. And then everyone is going to be very upset with Trump. And then perhaps that they could use this to start getting some momentum, maybe some allies, maybe ability to stock some of their missile supplies. This is a big thing. They cannot generate their missile capabilities at the moment because Israel has devastated a lot of their the ability to launch these weapons. And if we've taken out their nuclear program, at least most of it, and we've devastated their ability to fire rockets into our territory or into areas where Americans or Israelis could be vulnerable, if they're losing that ability, then they need to have someone come in and rescue them. And who's going to rescue them right now? No one wants to be Iran's friend. Iran right now is in a losing battle. They're getting killed in this war, figuratively and literally. And Trump is very strong, seems very clear-eyed, and people don't seem to want to cross Trump. Our Breitbart Fight Club interview goes into this in a little more detail, but let me give you, I know I talked to Francis Martell today on my Breitbart Confidential show about details, but just the synopsis. This is a moment of deep economic chaos. No one knows really what the future is for the big, beautiful bill. No one knows what the future is for tariffs, China tariffs. So many of America's biggest companies are seeing wild swings that are just completely inconsistent. The hedge against the wild times we're in is gold. And if you had bought gold, when I started to recommend my friends at Priority Gold, you would have made a ton of money. I'm just looking at the data right now. We're talking about year to date, gold is up 25.4% as I'm doing this recording. Over the last year, gold's up 40%. That's a wild return. That's an absolutely wild return. I was just doing TV with Steve Moore, and he was talking about the price of gold and how it's really, really high right now. And it crested over $3,400 an ounce just this week. I've got the best partners in the game at Priority Gold. If you text the word freedom to the number 24999, or you go to prioritygold.com/freedom, they will get you a free gold and silver guide. They will help personalize a package for you so that you can start buying your own gold. You can do a gold 401k, a gold IRA. They have so many options for you, and they will help you. They will help you. They will get on the line with you and tailor a strategy just for you. But you got to go to prioritygold.com/freedom or text the word freedom to 24999. These are great partners to be in business with at a moment where gold is red hot. It's gold hot right now. All right, check them out, prioritygold.com/freedom. Russia is the most, I would say, concerning ally for Iran, period, they could have. And they're trying to stay out of it. They're trying their best not to help Iran at this point. And it's because I don't think Russia wants to go crosswise with Trump right now, because I think Russia would prefer to see Trump help broker something favorable for them with Ukraine. I don't think Russia wants really a big part of this battle. China is another one where we're not seeing deep movement by China to help Iran. I think China will buy Iranian oil, which will keep some of their economy moving. And so that might mean no immediate regime change, which I don't know, maybe there's a benefit to that for us, because I don't want any regime change wars. And then there are anyone else who could help. The way Francis Martell phrased it to me at Breitbart was that maybe the Venezuelans are dumb enough to try to help, but that's about it. And so that's why the Strait of Hormuz is open, and that's why we're not seeing these people come to Iran's side, is because they just do not want to get involved in what is clearly a losing battle, what is clearly a war that is just, they are not going to stand a chance in this thing. So they're deeply wounded, and it is now the path, I believe, to see the U.S. and Israel declare victory. I think they need to do so. Maybe let Israel bomb the crap out of Iran for another few days, a week, 2 weeks maybe, and then declare victory. And then you move forward, and you try to do so before any Americans are killed or even wounded. As we saw earlier today, and this is my other data point for weakness, the Strait of Hormuz being open being the first one. There was an attack on American bases in Qatar this morning, or it was probably afternoon or evening Qatari time. And I think they got off 10 rockets. I think only one of them breached the defense system there, and there were no casualties as far as we can tell. So apparently, even there was a warning that this was going to happen, which suggests that this was a show of force to show that maybe, and I think this has got to be the most obvious theory, if there was a warning that this would happen, this is a show of strength for a domestic audience, where perhaps this is the Ayatollah trying to save face with his own people so that maybe there is no regime change. And so even though Israel and America will declare victory ultimately, maybe immediately, maybe imminently, who knows, maybe before the show goes online, but that there will be an effort for them to try to fend off a regime change. And I think that that is probably what we're looking at. And of course, a deep, deep sign of weakness. It's very easy to get cocky right now. I don't want to do that. But as of now, Trump is playing this, I believe, absolute inside straight, dead solid, perfect. I can't think of anything he's done that isn't just an A+ maneuver. He is just so creative in the region. I was thinking about this, about how one of Hamas's key powers in the Gaza region, for example, is that they took over the distribution of aid of food, basically giving out meals to people who are in dire straits in that region due to the war-torn nature of the area. And this is where the UN used to really flex a lot of their I'm sorry, not the UN. The Hamas used to flex a lot of their power because they would intercept the aid and then they would distribute it. And that would convince a lot of people to be on their side, and that would give them a lot of power in the area. But Trump has gone around the UN and other bodies to basically where you've got Americans distributing the food to people in the region. And I think that stuff is so clever. And Israel never pulled off anything like that. And this is where you feel like Trump is operating at a level that's just so far beyond anyone else. But him giving out food aid in Gaza, that's the sort of thing, him doing humanitarian work, it just shows you that he's operating on a plane that's just much higher than anyone else on Earth. Now, are there still things to be concerned about? Of course. Is there a terror cell in the United States who is Iranian affiliated, who's now going to be activated? Perhaps. But my take is, why wouldn't they have already been activated? Why did they wait to this point until Trump has blown their nuclear capabilities into smithereens? Why not a week ago? Why not 2 days ago? Why would it be today that they operate? And again, I could eat those words and it would be devastating if I had to, and I don't intend to. I'm trying to operate rationally and logically here. So a lot of people, a lot of voices I really love in my movement, in the conservative movement, the MAGA movement, who I do think stake out an angle, and I think is a valid angle, and it's worth pointing out. Like Bannon today, he's talking about how we cannot chase nuclear stockpiles around the world. We cannot chase nuclear material with ground troops. And I think that's true. I think he's right about that. I think we can't do that. But I will say that overall, it feels like Trump's instincts are to go with the people. And the people, I think, like the idea of defending Israel from attacks. They like the idea of some sort of aerial attacks if Iran continues to try to enrich and to try to fund these terror-prone groups, the type of groups that carry out attacks on America's Navy and the type of groups that engage in October 7th terrorism. And that's it. And then stop. And then declare victory and move on back to our domestic agenda. I think we did 700 ICE arrests yesterday. It's sort of thing where I don't have time to talk about this. I would like to make this the front and center of the domestic agenda, getting back on track. We're going to have big, beautiful bill stuff this week. We're going to have so much to do. The Senate parliamentarian has rejected a bunch of parts of the big, beautiful bill, just wild stuff, just procedural issues with Trump's agenda. We need to get back to this stuff, and we will. We'll spend a lot of the week on this content. But the first thing is neutralizing Iran's nuclear threat is a promise by Trump. It has been the signature of Netanyahu's political career is defending defending Israel from Iran specifically. This has been it. So, and both sides would like a regime change, but I think both sides would also prefer to declare victory and to wash their hands of it. So that's what I'm seeing. And I think that everyone sees this war as ending. I think that's why the Strait of Hormuz is open. I think that's why there was this weak attack on American bases in Qatar that did no damage. All of this indicates that this thing could wind down very quickly. And if it does, and we get back to the domestic agenda, this is going to be seen as another historic victory for Trump, of course, for Israel as well. But for Trump, historic. And he will be credited with it in the end, and I think it fits very nicely into his portfolio of peace through strength without any new wars. I don't think this counts yet. Without any ground troops, without forever wars, and we get back to that domestic agenda. We get back to our deportations. It's just very cool stuff. And we'll get into more detail throughout the week on this topic, but everything is pointing in a positive direction right now, with there are no exceptions from positive news, one after the next. And the way it's animated the American left now is out there and operating in a way as if what Trump is doing is impeachable. AOC wants to impeach Trump. There's those celebrities like Ariana Grande, because you guys all get your foreign policy from pop stars, right? Who were in the Wicked movie. They want to impeach Trump over the attack on Iran. Guys, that plays into our hands. Because if this thing ages well, it could age bad. Of course it could age bad. But as of now, if this thing ages the way it's been aging, with Trump using his unpredictability to take out the bad guys and then to move on, if that continues, if that holds, and there isn't some sort of a devastating attack on Americans in retaliation, which we have not seen, we have no sign of it happening. If that is how this thing ends, then I think a lot of those new members of the MAGA coalition, maybe the type of people who didn't grow up listening to Dennis Prager like I did and Mark Levin, and people who are pro-Israel to a very deep extent and got sold on those arguments over many years. Maybe some of those new people to the coalition who might be more skeptical of Israel and our partnership with Israel, they might start seeing this as part of a plan that is more thought through, that is virtuous, that is righteous, and that is effective. And I think we could be very much heading towards that place where this thing is all said and done. And if along the way we get ridiculously cool quotes from the left exposing themselves, figuratively speaking, though maybe literally, who knows, then I think this could be even better. Before I sign off, we'll do a contrast here. I'm going to do a Trump speech on Iran, which I will play for all of you, and then I will play Jasmine Crockett's response. And then I think they'll probably get the job done for now. But here is Trump on Iran. Check this out.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan.
Okay, so far, it's a great show for us. So you've got Trump, the reality TV star, real estate mogul, an incredible president; Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. You got Pete Hegseth, formerly from Fox and Friends, and J.D. Vance, who I learned about through his amazing book about his redneck upbringing. And they're there. They just carried out one of the most unbelievably precise attacks. And they all look great. They look very serious. Trump looks unbelievable. I'm saying this as just having witnessed all the Biden stuff where Biden freezing up nonstop. I just don't know how Trump is aging like this. He's lost weight. He looks great in a suit. He seems really happy. He's just fired up. It's just it's clear alpha energy. And you love to see it. That's what you want in a president, isn't it?
Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
I don't want to be too smiley, because those of you who are watching on the streams, I'm smiling at this stuff because it's such a good speech, and I love the way he uses language in these moments. But because things could go wrong, I'm not in denial of that. But as of now, he's just being played so well. But just to say in your face, I just love when he does this. He comes out and says, completely and totally obliterated. Okay? We only have the best bombs, the best bombers.
40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank—
Very clear, very decisive. It's great to recall the Soleimani stuff because it reminds people that he is capable of dropping the bomb, getting the job done, and moving on.
Thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades.
It's just great. And I love that he's congratulating the American military because it's just so impressive that we were able to pull this off. And you can marvel at it, but it's still so abstract. I make my life in this world. I've spoken to some of those powerful people in America's defense and military over the years, and it is very remote to understand what a precision mission like this is, the amount of intelligence that needs to be gathered to do it completely under the radar. I mean, the amount of bravery, physical bravery, the amount of technology that goes into these things and moving at the speed of sound to drop these things, just fantastic stuff. And it is worth marveling at it, and we don't get to do that enough.
Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane,
his middle name is
general,
not Raisin,
and all of the brilliant military minds involved.
His middle name is not Raisin. It is. I don't know what it is actually, but it's not Raisin. But it's good. I like our characters. When he does this, I get a new person to feature at Breitbart News, like a General Kurilla who looks like a gorilla, the super yoked general. So that's really important because I need to entertain you guys with this stuff.
In this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days.
That was what I wanted to get to. That was the money quote. It's peace or tragedy. And it's up to them. They can stop now. They can come back to the table, negotiate something. And it's not going to involve any nuclear weaponry. Look, I understand they want the nukes. Traditionally, the countries that denuclearize do not get stronger in the world. They get weaker. They don't want that. Their leadership doesn't want that. But they've got to do it, or else it's going to be more destruction for them, devastation. I don't know what that looks like. I don't want to be a part of it. But it's going to be inevitable. Trump's made his case. He staked that out. And I think that's the right approach by Trump. He's made it. It is a threat. It is absolutely a threat. You come and do peace now, or the attacks will continue. And that's it.
Days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight. Not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East, God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It seems like he may have fumbled whatever was scripted there, but when he said, I want to thank God and we love you, God, I will tell you, Breitbart News, that was the single most, that isolation where we isolated that little bit over the weekend. That was our most popular piece of content. I think it was actually our second most popular piece of content because we had a reparations story that I brought up, I think, on Friday's show. But it was our most popular piece of Iran content over the weekend was the I love you, God part. People love that. And I love it too. It's great stuff. We have a terrific president, and you don't have to love everything he does or everything about him, but he's the man for this moment. It's crystal clear to me thus far, and let's see what happens. But there's no one I trust half as much as Trump to handle something like this. And we got to take that in. It's got to be that we're very lucky to have that. I feel personally very lucky to have that. All right. I promised we'd have Jasmine. Jasmine, bring us home.
I go back in on Monday. You could have hollered at us on Monday. If you truly felt like there was something, like, there is nothing that they will say that will make me believe that this action needed to take place.
Okay, so those of you who missed that, she was suggesting that Trump shouldn't have done this bombing because he didn't holla at us. Remember, she doesn't need to talk like she's from the ghetto because she was articulate in a former life. But she's steering in this persona where she speaks as ghetto as possible. But there's a member of Congress saying Trump shouldn't have taken out nuclear facilities in Iran because he didn't holla at Jasmine. It's unironic. This is what she truly believes. That sounds like what a comedian would write if we were making fun of Jasmine. Is that Trump does this precision bombing and you get the big beautiful dogs out there and they're taking out Baghdadi, and then Jasmine comes in and says, "Yeah, but he didn't holla at us." I mean, it sounds like a joke, but that's her in real life. And she probably one of the people who is at the very cutting edge of Democratic politics in the moment, more than almost anyone else.
I go back in on Monday. You could have hollered at us on Monday. If you truly felt like there was something, like, there is nothing that they will say that will make me believe that this action needed to take place, and it needed to take place without the consultation of the Congress. All right. Give me one more.
How can the Senate be involved and make them accountable for what they're doing?
I mean, listen, y'all are talking about accountability. The systems have broken down. The systems have broken down because people have legitimately decided that they would rather serve him than serve the people that put them into office. Like, I don't really have any, like, good answers for you, except for the fact that legitimately everything that he does is, like, against the law. Like, he just breaks the law. And I know that there are some people that think that I just say this stuff.
That's a great sentiment. I want you guys to hold that thought, that they just declaring that Trump breaks the law all the time. I've got a lot to say about it. I think today our time is short, drawing to a close. But this is what their viewpoint is. If Donald Trump does it, it's against the law, where they are constantly breaking our laws in order to try to harm him. They've done it over and over again. They've gotten away with it over and over again. And now they act as him doing anything presidential, anything he's legally entitled to do as president, elected democratically by the people, the popular vote, every swing state. They think that if he does anything, if he lifts a finger, then that is breaking the law. And that's their posture. It's so deeply unhealthy for our democracy. It's really anti-democratic to speak this way. And yet this is who their champions are on the left. Important to see them. Are these the people that you would like to have in a moment of crisis? You've heard me talk about efforts from the legacy media to stop you from accessing shows like mine. They do it by limiting spectrum that's available to consumers like you to access shows like this. They actually claim it's a national defense issue, which is a bit of a stretch if you think about it. And Trump isn't buying it either, and neither is Senator Ted Cruz. In the big, beautiful bill, Republicans have heard your voice and are providing more spectrum. So what does that mean for you? It can reduce your monthly broadband bill and preserve your ability to watch, listen, and stream the content that you choose, not what's chosen for you by some cable provider. The sale of this spectrum will also generate billions of dollars to reduce our national debt. Don't let the giant cable providers and legacy media continue to filter your information. Tell your senator and member of Congress to work with Senator Ted Cruz and President Donald J. Trump to expand spectrum and end the legacy media monopoly for good. You can learn more at endthecableopoly.org. That's endthecableopoly.org. All right, so much more to say, so many more items in the news. I want to get back to the domestic agenda. I've got probably a big announcement for you guys this week. There's just so much going on in the world. But overall, I think focusing in on Iran, and hopefully we can start balancing the scales in the news. But Trump, I think, acting decisively, boldly, effectively thus far. Fingers crossed. All right, that's today's show. Thanks to Misty and all the wonderful sponsors as well. All of you in the audience for telling 10,000 friends and family members about the show, subscribing, 5-star reviews. All that helps a lot. Go to Breitbart.com for all the latest news. I'll talk to you tomorrow.